Hey, I'm Champaign native Emily Harrington. You're watching the podcast where townies and transplants share their tales of tears and triumphs, losses and wins, proving week after week that everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to HyperLocals. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the HyperLocals podcast. We are not at Kitchen Table Studios. We are not at the Basement Table Studios. Where are we, Andrew?
We are in the WCIA studios here. Professional, very profesh.
A little intimidating.
Very intimidating, I know.
Are you a little nervous?
I am.
I'm a little bit nervous, but I think putting on the headphones was it just kind of puts it on me and you.
Exactly.
Because right before we left the house, you said, are there going to be older people in the room?
I don't know. I got to be careful with what I say.
We're usually so free.
Yes.
That it'll be interesting to see how it is when there's other people in the room and we tell our stories.
That's right. I know.
There is a very specific, special reason that I had you here. First, this is my first time here, and I knew you'd make me comfortable.
Yes.
And second, we've had a huge life change in the past week, and I wanted to reflect on that.
Yes. Well, first of all, I was your first guest of your podcast, so it's only appropriate that I'm the first guest
100%.
of the more professional version of the HyperLocals podcast.
And you were available.
I was available. I'm always available.
Okay, yeah,
usually.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
So I would say over the last week, it's been a very difficult week for you and I individually, and you and I as a couple. Would you say that?
I'd say that's true.
Okay. Over the past few years, we have sprinkled in stories about a gentleman named Roger Shields.
That's right.
Never really telling the full story, but just kind of peppering in as he came up and through our life. But it's come to a head, so to speak.
Yep.
So I wanted to reflect on what you've learned over these past years and your role in his life and vice versa.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about Roger. He was a big influence in my life. I've known him since I was about 6 years old. And, he actually passed away on Thursday at 82. And the last couple of years are pretty crazy, but we can go all into that. I don't know what you want to talk about.
6 years old.
Yep.
You started playing piano?
I did. So my dad started playing piano late 80s, probably like 88 or 89.
Okay.
Met Roger through a mutual, actually my uncle T.H. and Jackie at the time had Roger, was over a party. My dad met him, wanted to take piano, and then my dad took lessons, 45 years since then, or 35 years? I can't do the math.
I mean, until almost now.
Yeah, he was literally taking lessons. And I took lessons when I was started at 6, and I go to Roger's house, him and Andrea, his wife, go to their house since 6 years old up and through till I graduated high school. And I've known him my whole life. And
from the moment I met you and your family, he was a topic of conversation.
Oh, he's so unique. Well, first of all, there's a lot of unique things. I mean, him and his wife are so nice, and he's so unique. They have a really cool old school house that we'd always go to and have piano lessons. And then Roger himself is just a very unique person, and the stories I could go into are pretty funny, but yeah.
How would you, if you could drill it down to adjectives, describe Roger? Because he is a 1 in a million personality.
Unfiltered, brilliant.
Yeah.
Just unique, one-of-a-kind person that, they just don't make him like him anymore. So, yeah.
Unfiltered made him hilarious.
And I would say he was a very good teacher, like someone that, had a lot of students and was very, I don't even know what he'd say, he was like a genius at the piano, so he was very good, so he expected his students to be very good.
High expectations.
Oh, yeah. So you always felt pressure, especially as a kid seeing him. I remember always being nervous. That kind of wears off as you get older, and then it became more of a friendship when I got older, especially when I stopped playing after I graduated high school and went away to college. But I still kept a friendship with him, and it became more of a friendship versus like a teacher and student relationship. Student. And so that was kind of fun how that evolved, looking back. And we would just laugh and joke around a lot. And yeah.
Your brother and sister also took lessons from him.
We did. We all took at one point.
And so why were you the last man standing in terms of lessons?
I think he thought I had maybe a little more, I don't want to say talent, but I was better at piano, and I think he saw that, and so I practiced a lot. Even actually, I as a kid, I look back, I didn't like to practice. I hated it.
Sure,
I did not like piano. Looking back, I wish I would have appreciated it more. But my parents kind of made me play, And so I go see Roger, and usually I didn't practice much, but I was very good at like winging it because I could just kind of play. And
you had some talent.
So I could kind of wing it, even though I didn't practice much. And that was kind of like how it went from up until the end of high school. And then I went away to college and I stopped playing. But like I said, kept a relationship with him for a very long time. And yeah.
In terms of teachers today, right?
Yeah.
Roger probably wouldn't have survived as a teacher.
He is old school. Like, he'd be like, sit up, close your mouth. Like, he wouldn't like hit you, but he'd like get your wrist up. You know what I mean? He was like, sit up straight, close your mouth. He was very strict in that sense, but he expected a lot out of you. And his students, some of them are just incredible piano
the proof
players.
is in the pudding.
Yeah, he started this Stravinsky Awards that were really big at the time at Cranert. They would hold them every year, kind of like a piano competition from international people all over the world would come for these big events. And he put it together himself and started that. His wife would do the artwork. She was an artist. And that was kind of another thing, taking piano lessons with him. His wife, Andrea, she was such a good cook and baker. After every lesson, she'd have like freshly baked cupcakes, cookies, and that was like the best part. When you're done, she'd have a tray of like goodies. Yeah, I remember going there after school, and then getting the treat. That was pretty cool. But his house, like I said, it was so unique. You go in there as a kid, it's like it's not really haunted, but it's like old school, historic home from like late 1800s, and they loved antiques and kind of older things. So as a kid, you're going in there, you're kind of like,
it's like a museum.
It kind of is
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Do you know? We'll get to his house and kind of the story of that, but in high school, you become the Andrew I know, right?
Yes,
the athlete.
Well, I just didn't take.
No.
I didn't want to take piano. That's for sure. But I still did.
And why did you?
At one point I actually stopped, and I think Roger was taken back because I was like, you know what, this isn't working. I don't want to do this.
Oh,
this
you put your foot down.
Like freshman or sophomore year, and I stopped for like 6 months. Maybe.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I think Roger was kind of like shocked that I did, and he talked to my dad, and I went back, and I think ever since I went back, he kind of like appreciated that I like stuck with it after that because I like took a break and I wasn't going to do it, but I was like, you know what, I'll do it again. So I kept playing until I was, graduated high school, and then I moved away. So yeah, it wasn't
something in it for you.
Well, yeah, my dad was like, "I'll give you an allowance if you practice and keep up with it." So
that was a positive incentive.
That was a little, yeah.
Okay, we leave that part out.
I don't know if Roger ever knew that, but yeah.
We don't need to tell him that, okay? Yeah. Your sister, it's also like family lore that she would leave in tears.
Roger, I think, finally was like, I can't teach. He told my dad, he's like, I can't teach her. She just cries every time. So she had to kind of be gracefully let go.
So you became a special student of a few.
I think he always liked me because I was just kind of unique. I wasn't like his normal baby piano student, So we always kind of got along personality-wise. And, it was just kind of that kind of relationship.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, and then, like I said, known him my whole life since then, and got to know him more as a friend. So yeah.
Can you tell me anything about his achievements as a pianist? Like his story a little bit?
Since a little kid, he actually had kind of a crazy childhood. It's kind of tragic at the same time because I got to know it more as we talked, but his parents got divorced at a very young age. He was like 3. His mom kind of left. He grew up in Arcola. His dad had these big trucks, and it was like a corn kernelling business, but that whole kind of business faded away because I think everyone started getting their own combines, and so his dad kind of lost his business. Roger used to tell me he used to take care of himself as a kid. Literally, he'd be at his house making food, doing everything himself when there's no one there as like a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, and he would literally take care of himself with no one around. His dad was working her out. His mom was gone. I think he had an older brother who was maybe in the Marines or gone. So he would literally take care of himself. He mentioned like crying himself to sleep at night as a kid.
Oh my gosh.
His dad was a World War I Marine.
Okay.
So that's way back then. Played for the Decatur Staleys, which was like before the Bears, and didn't move to Chicago. So he's got a lot of like history. But then as a young age, Roger was just a genius at the piano. They got him a piano, and he would just play all the time. And he was like traveled throughout the state as a kid, and he was just like a savant at the piano. I don't even know how to describe it. And then he was in high school, he was teaching older people how to play the piano, like adults as a kid.
Okay.
Then he went to competitions. He went to the U of I on a music scholarship, got his master's in music and piano, and then he was a concert pianist in Europe. He was like he lived in Buffalo for a number of years and was like an in-house pianist there. He went down to North Carolina. taught there. But then he finally met Andrea.
At about what age?
In like the late 70s. He was born in 43, so she was probably in his late to mid 30s when he met her.
Okay. Let's continue talking about Andrea after the break.
Yep.
Andrew, take me. He's meeting Andrea, which is going to be a huge love of his life, a big moment, a changing factor for him.
Yep.
Do you know how they met? Did he end up telling you that?
I'm not exactly sure. They were in North Carolina, I believe, because he was there for a while. Because then they ended up moving back here. He talks about how they got their house. He ended up knowing someone with the house and calling him and kind of buying it just off of pictures. They knew someone.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
So they've lived in that house since like 78 or 79 on Church Street. So that's, 46 years ago. And they got married soon after. They got married right away, like I think in the courthouse.
Okay.
It wasn't like a whole, she's from San Francisco. She was born in like San Francisco, like, back in the 50s or late 40s and grew up there. And then she was an artist. And I don't exactly know how they met in North Carolina.
While we're here, I want you to paint a picture of their house. And do you know any of the history? It is a historically marked home.
They got it designated as a historic home. It was 2 like A-frame homes that this Squires guy put together in like the 1920s. He moved one house from Green Street in Prospect and this on Church, built them together, and it's been there for like 100 years now. And they loved that home. Andrea and Roger got it designated like a National Historic Home. Mm-hmm. They got all like the blueprints, all the pictures from when it used to be like 2 homes. So yeah, it's very unique. Can't miss it on Church Street if you drive down like a block.
A brown Tudor.
South. I think it's like black siding, but yeah.
And
I wouldn't call it a Tudor. I don't know.
I would call it a Tudor.
I don't even know what a Tudor is. I don't think it's a Tudor.
And they filled it. They spent their time filling it with
they love
international antiques.
Antiques, everything, yeah. Very big gardeners, everything, yep.
Very, very cool home.
Very cool home. Very unique, yeah.
Very
and as he
unique.
got older, what was kind of sad is because he wasn't moving, he couldn't move around well.
Sure.
So we knew he couldn't stay in that house because like literally every room's got like a step or a threshold. And when he was in there by himself, it was like not good because like he's got a spiral staircase with not very good railing, and he's like, it was
all
not
these
safe.
little step ups.
It was not safe.
Like a little dollhouse, really.
Kind of, yeah.
And just one little bathroom on the first floor.
Hardwood floors, brick, yep.
Really cool house.
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time in that house, and I want you to tell me, in your later years, how you rekindle kind of your relationship with Roger.
Yeah, so like I said, we've known him our whole life. You've known him at our wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, he sat at the table with my parents and grandparents, him and Andrea, and they let us come pick as their present for us. I think that maybe the first time you really got to meet
our
him,
wedding
they were
present.
like, come over to our house and you get to pick one of Andrea's paintings, which I think was at a gallery or something.
In Urbana.
So we got it, then we went over to their house. And I think for the first time you realized, so Roger had been a smoker his whole life, which is kind of funny. And I think we went over there, and you thought it was kind of interesting because we go sit in his living room with his nice friend, and he's just, smoking cigarettes. And I think at the time you used to partake a little bit.
But I wasn't partaking.
No, but it was just funny. You were like shocked because it was kind of like, like, oh yeah, that's Roger.
It was taboo.
Yeah, that's what he does.
But he didn't care.
Yeah, that's what he would do for my dad's lessons. They'd talk. He'd have a cigarette, then they'd go have a lesson. And like, that was just kind of who he was. Old school.
It was the 4 of us sitting in like a salon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Upholstered couches.
Yep.
Having a formal conversation.
Oh yeah. It was great.
So it's not something that's done a lot today.
No. They love that though. He loved to have conversations. Like before every lesson we'd talk, but like for some of his older students, like a big part of it was like talking before the lesson. Then you'd have the lesson. Like he'd sit, talk. I know my dad and him would sit in there and talk for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, then they'd have the lesson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that was kind of like what he would do. It was like more friendship.
He liked the company.
He did. He really did.
He really did.
He did. Absolutely.
So you're not his student anymore, but now you're a young attorney at the law office.
Yeah. And he would always check in. He'd always come in with something, or we'd talk, and he'd always swing by the office. It was always fun because he'd always come in my office, and he'd love to talk about. Like I said, he had no filter. He was Andrew, who's like, you're gaining weight. I'm like, yeah, okay, I might be a little bit. Or you're looking fat.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I know.
To you or your brother?
Oh yeah, he would always say it was kind of like his joke.
A body shamer before that was really
funny.
A thing.
Yeah, and what's funny is he wasn't like working out or anything. That's the way he was. He was just kind of like matter of fact, blunt about it. And I think that was kind of like his humor a little bit. So.
I think appearances mattered to him. Would you say that?
Yes and no.
He always told me I looked nice.
Like at the end, we go and like sit him at the park, and it would be funny because he would just comment on people.
Yes.
I'm like, Roger, like quiet. They might be able to hear you. Like, yeah.
So you kept a relationship professionally here and there.
Yeah, I'd help. Yeah, absolutely. We'd check in, if he needed something, and I'd see him and his wife. Honestly, Andrea came to me a lot too because she was, doing stuff. She had a rental property, and I'd helped her with that, and just various things. I would always help them over the years, and just whatever they needed. Yeah.
Fast forward a little bit, and Andrea gets sick.
So yeah, like this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, before COVID, maybe right around then. She came to me and said she had terminal cancer. So she had, I think it's multiple myeloma, kind of like a blood cancer. She knew it was terminal, wasn't going to live. I mean, they thought she wasn't going to live much. Like she ended up living like 3 years, and she did like experimental treatments, which worked for a while. But yeah, she came to me and was like, I'm not going to live, they don't have any kids or family. And she was like, something happens to me, I'm going to need someone to help with Roger. And I was kind of like, yeah, of course I'd help out. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like where it changed a little bit. Not even thinking, she's like, really? It's like, I was like, yeah. She's like, well, it's going to be a lot of work. I'm like, no. Yeah, I didn't think at the time. I'm like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. Of course I'll help Roger out.
I remember you coming home from work and telling me this.
Yeah.
And we kind of couldn't believe it. And then it just kind of faded into the background.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help him out. But yeah, so that was like 3 years. And funny enough, you started your podcast like a year or two later, and she like loved your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's weird that we're here at WCA because she emailed, I think, CI Living and was like, you got to interview Emily. This is like when you first started.
So random.
And they came and interviewed you.
They did.
Because she reached out personally and was like, you need to interview Emily Harrington. And that was like literally like right before like a year before she passed. And
so it was always in the back of our mind.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, if something happened, I would for sure help him out. But fast forward to like May of 23, I think we were at the pool one night.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a Sunday night, and I get an email from Andrea, which I thought was kind of strange. I'm like, wow, I got an email from her, and it's like, hey, Andrew, the drugs aren't doing that well. I'm in the hospital sick. I didn't know this at the time. Like, I probably talked to her like 3 weeks or maybe a month before that, but I didn't know she was like in the hospital.
No.
And she emailed me, and she's like, I'm not going to live much longer. I'm going to go home to hospice. We had talked about you're going to take care of Roger. I just want to make sure, she was kind of like worried about him in that house. She's like, I don't know if he'll be able to take care of himself in the house. At the time, she was like, there's a place at the Inman we were looking at, but the Inman, I think, actually changed from like senior living to just normal housing at the time. But regardless of that, she was like, we're going to need help with Roger. I'm going to go in home and hospice. And I got that email, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, I emailed her back. I was like, well, can I come? I'll come see you. Absolutely. I'm here to help. Whatever you need, whatever Roger needs, I'm here. And then.
So hold on one second. I want you to tell me about that next morning in just a second. Okay, so we're at the pool. You read her email. You quickly respond.
So I respond. I was like, she was like, I'm going into hospice at home. I'll be there. And I was like, all right, well, I'd love to come see you. Never got a response. Well, then the next morning I got a call that she had passed away, like literally the next day.
Do you remember who called you? Was it Roger?
I'm trying to think who it was. You know what? I think it was her neighbor, Bernard, who I know, called me actually. Sure. Bernard called me, told me. So then I went right over to the house and I saw Roger there. So yeah, that was a tough day. I remember seeing Roger. He did not look well, though. He looked like if no one would have known at the time, they would have thought like Roger was the one that was sick.
I remember you saying that.
I'm like, he looks skinny. He just didn't look like his normal self the last couple of years. And I think her being sick took a toll on him because when she passed away, he was never the same. Like he could never. And I understand they had been married for 45 plus years. Like I said, they didn't have any kids, so they were like each other's. And he never got over that. Like anytime you would bring her up. For the next 2 years, he would like cry. At least the first year, he was a little better later on, but he would just like get silent and like look down
and get misty eyed.
Yeah, because he could never get over that. So
and he didn't play the piano the entire time when she got sick.
He stopped playing piano when she got sick. So that was And I would try to tell him because I was like, why don't you play? He's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, I'm too old for that. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of sad. So, yeah.
He kind of died a little bit when she died.
Definitely. And he would always say, like, why did she have to go before him? And I could tell that was hard on him, for sure.
Do you think Andrea read your email? In your romanticized mind.
I think she did, yeah, because I
do?
responded pretty quickly. I think she did. And that, I'd like to think that gave her some peace of mind, you know? Like, not to worry. So, yeah.
You basically said, I will.
Yeah, I'll take care of him. I'll be there, and I got this kind of thing. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yep.
When do you discover, after taking Roger kind of under your caretaking wing a little bit, that he has dementia?
You know, it wasn't really. I mean, I kind of suspected earlier on that he was having little memory problems. It wasn't like prevalent because he could recall a lot of things pretty well. But I did notice one time when they came in my office together, she was kind of leading and he was a little bit. Oh, wow. You know, I could kind of tell, like, okay, maybe there's something there. Yeah, he'd occasionally forget things, but like I said, I went over there the day she died, and I'd go see him regularly after that, almost every day during my lunch hour, just to check up on him.
At what time or when do you know specifically he has vascular dementia? I
don't know till late, like a year later.
Okay.
And that was like what the doctors at the office thought at the ER thought he had. So.
Okay. So
you don't officially diagnosed, but he definitely had some memory issues.
Do you think Andrea knew that when she asked you?
She knew there was probably a chance he was getting forgetful, I think.
Okay.
And it kind of like started appearing more because I'd see him every day for lunch. And a lot of times I was like, man, first of all, he's not getting around well. He was like sitting in his patio all the time. We'd have great talks. I'd come over there for lunch and we'd sit in his patio. And I'm like, man, he doesn't even look like eating. Like he's just frail. So I started bringing him lunch every day.
What'd you bring him?
Well, a lot of times it was Jimmy John's. He'd never had that before. And so I'd bring him Jimmy John's all the time. But then I was like, my dad was like, he loves like meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I get roast beef. So I was like, all right. So I go to Bobo's, which is kind of like nearby.
On Springfield.
Because he had fresh fries, and I get him like the single burger with onion. He'd love that. So I'd bring him that almost like every day.
Almost 5 days a week.
Yeah. And he loved it. And he'd just eat it in front of me. So that kind of like, I knew he was eating something at lunch.
Sure.
And he'd kind of make himself breakfast. But I started noticing like forgetful things or him. I come over and he'd like have like a cut on his head. He'd fall down. I'm like, oh, geez, this is not good. But it's hard to like tell someone, force him to go somewhere when he doesn't want to. So I would really struggle with that for like a year. Even his neighbor, Bernard, was a big help. Judy behind him and some of his students like my dad and Dietrich, we all like knew. But how are you going to tell someone like that, hey, you got to go you know what I mean? So that was like a struggle for like a year.
Especially because you had this for a long time, a student-teacher relationship.
Yeah, he was like this mentor, like teacher to me, friend for so long. I can't be like, they love their house. All he wants to do is be there. Who am I to say, get out of here and go somewhere? You know what I mean? So I struggled with that for a long time. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep showing up, helping him. And that's kind of what we did. And between myself, Bernard, his neighbor, his other students that were, in and out, we all kind of like just checked up on him and helped him. But I noticed a lot of times he was just still in that same room. He'd be in there.
Same clothes.
A lot of times the same clothes. And it kind of snowballed, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, it's not going well. He wasn't eating well. He couldn't get around. Like, a lot of times he'd blow it off. He'd be like, oh, what do I care? He didn't care.
This was his favorite thing.
He didn't want to do anything. I'm like, Roger. Like, he's like, that's what he would do.
Yeah.
He'd sit there and smoke cigarettes, and
kind of stare out the window.
Yeah. And, one time he had me go get him a carton of cigarettes. He'd smoke these like Carltons. I've never even heard of this brand. He's like, I get them from this place on University. So I go to this place, and I think he thought they were cheap, but I went and they're like $150 for a carton. I go take him and I tell him, and he was like, no, that they shouldn't be this much. He called the place and was on the phone for like 20 minutes telling this guy for me to take him back. I finally was like, Roger, just keep him. It's fine. I'm not taking him back. And
he had like the 1970s price in his head.
I guess. But yeah, we joke because the guy told me, he's like, oh yeah, there's only one other customer I know that buys these. And
so funny.
Yeah.
So,
and he'd try, and the problem is I would come, another thing was he'd like go for walks and it turns out he fell one time and they had to like carry him back to his house outside. Like the cops had to take him. He was driving a little bit and that was a whole thing. I'm like, dude, you should not be driving, Roger. Well, finally one time he got in a wreck in front of my house.
Our house.
Our house.
Yes.
And
did.
I don't know, he should not have been driving. I swear that's like Andrea looking after him, because he like got in a wreck and his car was totaled, and we had to help him through that. He was fine. The person was fine. He was fine, but he like rear-ended someone. He didn't stop in time, and it's weird because it happened right in front of our house. So he calls me. He's like, "Oh, or he was like, I got in a wreck." I'm like, "You got in a wreck? What?" I didn't know that at the time, and went there and helped him get his car, and he got like a lot of money from the insurance for that. So it kind of worked out where he couldn't drive anymore, and he got money for it. So kind of a crazy story.
His freedoms kept getting naturally taken away.
And I'm like, Roger, but he didn't think that. He's like, I'm fine. I don't want anyone here. He never wanted anyone there. He thought he could do everything. But again, you have to realize, as a kid, he took care of himself. Like, as a kid.
Yeah.
So like, he's 81, 82 now, and like he still thinks he can take care of himself.
That independence was
he literally
important.
like he told me he like would crawl up the stairs, and their stairs like wooden stairs. I'm like, Roger, you can't do this. So I mean,
so slowly but surely, you ended up having lunches with Roger for how many years?
I mean, for definitely a year at his house, and then over a year finally when he got into a nursing home.
Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
Okay. So I want you to take me to the time when you have to really intervene and get him out of his house medically for the first time.
Yeah, so this would have been, his wife passed away in May of 23. Like I said, we were going over there for a whole year. I'd go over there.
And bring him burgers and fries.
Bring him burgers and fries. Finally, he couldn't drive anymore. I started going over there the evenings more often, too. It wasn't just lunch, because I was kind of worried about him at night. So I'd check in on the evenings, and it was weird. It's like, in the evenings, he would get, like, a second wind. I'm like, he couldn't even, like, really get up from his patio, and here he is, like, walking up in his kitchen.
Crazy.
I'm like, what's going on? Like, it was kind of a weird, like, in the day, he was very tired, and then at night, he'd get, like, a second wind. He always had his routines, and, so then, like, that is occurring for, like, a year. Mm-hmm. Finally, it's, like, started to get May and June. He had a friend come by, another student, lived out in Maryland, I think, or Virginia, stay. I think he could see it as well. Like, he was kind of, like, having a hard time, a lot of times making, like I said, changing clothes, doing the basic stuff. I'd bring him food, but I noticed, like, he'd eating half a sandwich, and his sandwich would be in the fridge. And he's like, I'll eat it later. And then I'd look in his fridge, and it would be, like, kind of rotting in the fridge. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, he's not eating much. And then
the gas stove got left on once.
Gas stove got left on once.
Burning cigarette in the hand.
He was having a hard time, like, going to the bathroom sometimes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'd noticed that, and I'd have to help, you know what I mean, clean up. It was not pretty, but, so dealing with that, but he was always, like, fine. He'd always blow it off. You know what I mean?
But you were worried.
And it wasn't just me. A lot of us that knew him everyone was like, a little worried. Finally, this is at the end. This is like July of 24 or June maybe. He was not really getting up from bed. I go up and he wasn't getting up from bed much. He was in his bed a lot. And I'm like, dude, Roger, you are not good. You got to go. So, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. He just wanted to be left there. So it's like, that's what I struggle with. Like, how do you force someone? You know what I mean? When he just wants to like be where he's at, and so that was.
And he didn't really want to live. I mean, he would
since
voice
she passed
that.
away, he would voice. I don't want to sound, but yeah, he was having a very hard time. Struggling with that, living by himself without Andrea. He was like totally heartbroken. So that was very hard to see.
How did you feel emotionally every time you turned the handle to his house, not knowing what was on the other side?
I was scared, honestly, because a couple times I'd come in there and he'd have a big gash on his head. He'd blow off. I was like, oh, no, I just had a little bump. I'm like, dude, Roger. And so we had to, like, suture him up. Like, I think we had to get some, like, like a friend of ours, a nurse, came over there one time. Yeah, it was just, like, so that was going on, and it got worse and worse. And finally in June, he had to go to a doctor's appointment. So we finally got him, like, we got a hold of his doctor. Like, all this is, like, I'm brought into this, but, like, I don't really know, like, his doctor. So, like, it just, like, over time, you start knowing who his doctors are, and you start calling people, and then, like, we finally got him a doctor's appointment. He was going to go in. We talked to his doctor, and that was a whole thing, getting him, like, from his house to the car to the doctor's, and he just looked frail. And I'm sure everyone there was like, he does not look well.
Sure.
Doctor said, yeah, he doesn't look well. So he was supposed to come. So then we left the appointment. He had to come back in a couple days for like a test. I think the next day for like some actual tests, because he was going to we didn't have time. It was like the doctor's appointment was at 3:00. He didn't have time to get like blood and all that. So we had to come back the next day. Well, the next day I go over there with his neighbor, and we couldn't get him out of bed. He was like snoring. I thought he was like passed. I was like, dude, is he gonna make it? Like, we tried to pick him up, and his eyes rolled back, and he got really stiff. And I was like, oh, that's it, dude. I was like, I called the ambulance. The firemen came over, the ambulance, and we had to take him to the hospital because his eyes, it scared me. Like, his eyes rolled back. He was stiff. We couldn't physically get him out of there. So they had to, like, kind of gurney him out. And they had, like, this weird spiral staircase. They had to put him on, like, a chair and, like, carry him out. It was the whole thing. It was kind of scary. I thought, like, he wasn't going to make it. He was in the hospital. He had, like, an infection and pneumonia. So we got that treated. He was in there for, like, 2 weeks. And I was shocked. I was like, man, he's not doing well. But then finally he, like, kind of bounced back. He's very resilient.
Yes.
I can't even describe it. He's just so resilient. He bounced back, and then they had to go to rehab. So then that's a whole thing. Like, I didn't even know any of this. Like, there's, like, rehab and, like, with nursing homes and stuff. So then we had to find a place for him to go to, quote, unquote, rehab. So, like, we had to look at places, and there's nowhere really in town, at least that was taking Health Alliance at the time, like his insurance. So we had to go. There was one place we visited it, and we were like, I can't take him here.
Your tour of nursing homes was depressing, to say the least.
It was, and we saw one. I won't say any names. I was like, I can't take. He cannot live here. Like, I will not. You know what I mean?
It was
I couldn't
bad,
do it.
yeah.
So then, the one we liked was in Paxton. It was nice, and so we took him there. Problem was, it's like Paxton. It's like 25, 30 minutes away. So
and
he was
still
in Paxton.
Working 8 to 5.
Yeah, still working. So I'd still go see him at lunch. I'd still just take off. Thankfully for my job, I'm flexible. Like, I can go and leave and, you know, being your own kind of boss a little bit. So I would go see him at lunch. I'd drive to Paxton, go see him, visit with him. He kind of hated it there to start. He was like, I want to get out of here.
Kind of hated.
He pretty much did. He did kind of like it because they let him smoke in the courtyard. So that brought him some joy. And then, kind of weirdly, he struck up a friendship with this woman there. She was like one of the few that could actually like walk around there, and she
was a hot commodity on the circuit
was
because
weird
she could walk.
I think the nurses there knew she like done this before. She kind of like got and like kind of like, I don't want to say like took advantage, not to say advantage, but she really like latched on to him, and like she would wheel him around. One day I come over there and he's got like a knitted shawl on his shoulder. I think her name was, I don't know, but it was like Kana, and like she was like very, they were like always
smitten
together.
with each other.
Yeah, but finally I knew he wasn't going to be there very long. Like, we knew we were going to have to find a more permanent solution because Paxton wasn't going to work because I couldn't like go there and taking hour drives every day seeing him. So we finally found Clark Lindsay Village in Urbana and got him in there. So that was like 2 weeks in Paxton, or maybe it was like a month in Paxton, maybe.
It seemed like a month.
And then, then he was in Clark Lindsay, and he was.
But
there
he was in a Clark Lindsay, a different part, and then why did we get bumped from there?
So they had like these new independent living. So we tried to put Roger more in the independent living, like this really new, nice apartments, and it was like, oh, these are great, brand new. They look great. They look like college, like luxury dorms.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you see on campus. They're like, oh, this is awesome. So we got him in there. Problem is, you have to be a little like independent, and he'd get confused. He'd go down like, you know, it's just hard for him. He never wanted to realize it, but he really did need like a little more care.
Yeah.
So just doing the basic things, I think they realized he was going to need more care. So finally they came to me like 2 weeks later after he was kind of living there and needing a little more attention than most people there, that they were like, we got this place that we call the greenhouse, which is more like 24-hour nursing care. So we got him in there. So that's kind of where he's been at for the last
How long was
year.
he there?
Probably a good year, August till September, yeah. So
And you still visited every day over lunch?
still go there all the time, yeah. And
What was your conversations? Can you recall any of them?
he'd always want to know what I've been up to.
Yeah.
He'd be like, so what are you doing? I'm like, oh, you know, I just tell him everything. So what else you been doing? It was just a lot of that,
You had to
which was
dig
great.
deep.
It was, we'd have great conversation. And a lot of the best conversation, and you start talking to him about his life, because even though he kind of had dementia, a lot of his memories from childhood were very like clear, and like he could go into like Arcola. So, you know, he's from Arcola. He's actually in like the Arcola High School Hall of Fame just because he was such a good pianist. I think he's very well known there. He's got a lot of good friends in the Arcola area. So he's very, and a lot of his memories like, oh, I need to go home to Arcola. It's like, no, Roger, you don't go to home to Arcola. You know, he kind of like get that confused a little bit. But yeah, we had great conversations, and he couldn't smoke there, but nothing brought him more joy than having a cigarette. So
Right.
myself and some of his other students knew that. So I would, in his neighbor, I'd kind of like take him out to the park. He couldn't smoke on there, but I'd wheel him to the park and we'd sit out there and I'd like let him have a cigarette. He loved that.
They kind of made an exception. Would you say
They
that
knew.
for him?
What's funny is like a lot of people there like that worked there smoked, so they like
yeah.
It was kind of funny, but they knew. They didn't. I mean, what are you gonna say? He was like 82.
I know. Let him have a cigarette.
Like he loved. That's all he wanted.
Sometimes we would get phone calls, and it was like at dusk.
Yeah.
So talk about his personality.
Well, he'd get confused, especially there is like a sundown thing, and that was definitely like a real thing with him. I'd get these calls, and I'd get a message. He'd be like, "Hey, Andrew," or sometimes he'd be like, "Hey, Andrew, this is Roger Shields." One time he called and he says, "What did he say?" He goes, I'm at the jail." It's like, "I'm at the Champaign County Jail." I'm like, "You're in jail?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Oh yeah, can you come pick me up?" I'm like, "Well, I think you're all right, Roger." He's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll have to slip here tonight." I'm like, I think you're fine, Roger.
Once he got on something. That was it.
Yeah. And, he'd get confused, and it was, But I would take him to his doctors, but he started having eye problems, so I'd have to drive. One time they, checked his pressure. They made me drive him to Chicago because they were so worried about his eye pressure. They're like, he needs to go see a specialist in Chicago right away. So we had to, drive to Chicago to this walk-in clinic. We had to sit there for, 7 hours.
Oh, nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
And he was literally yelling to people walking by, like, "Help, help, excuse me, sir, could you help me?" Like, he could not sit still, and... yeah, that was a whole thing. And then I get him a nice food and burger, like Culver's. He'd love that.
And he like Diet Coke?
He did. And it was kind of nice because, he recorded these albums in the 70s. He used to be a pianist in New York, and they're actually on Spotify. So I found, I literally didn't know. I was like, "Roger, you have like a Spotify page for your album." He had like these ragtime albums from piano. And so I'd put those on and we'd listen to them, some classical too, and we'd listen to them in the car. And he loved that. And then we started going to Peoria for his eye appointments after that, and it was just a lot of good memories.
David a lot.
He'd call me David. Yeah, he used to have a friend that was an attorney years ago called David. He'd be like, "Oh, there he is. There's David." And I'm like, "Roger, it's Andrew." He's like, "Oh yeah, what am I thinking?" Yeah, it was funny,
but he was always happy to see you.
Always happy to see me. He loved it. He loved our visits. He loved anyone that. I swear, he had more visitors than anyone there.
You think so?
Absolutely. He would. First of all, he did not. He'd always say he was going to leave there. Like, "Oh, I'm getting out of here soon." I'm like, "Oh, really?" I try to it's like, "Yeah, what do you mean? You don't want me to get out of here?" I'm like, "Well, you do need care." He's like, No, I don't." He's like, "Just for maybe a couple hours a week." I'm like, "Roger, no." He's like, "Oh, they can come and clean." And that was the running thing.
Stubborn. He was stubborn.
Up until the last time, he was still talking about, "Oh, he's getting out of here on Saturday." I'm like, "All right." I just kind of go along with it. I usually learn not to fight it. Because before I was when you first start, you're like, "Oh, no," you kind of push back on it. But then you realize, it's just kind of go with it, and it's not as bad. I mean, we had ups and downs. He would get kind of angry at times with me, I think, a little bit at the end. Not
frustrated.
Really, just frustrated. But at the very end, though, he was very peaceful and nice, and, I wouldn't change anything. A lot of it is the disease, so I understand that.
Up to even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You were still visiting normally.
Yeah.
Having your normal hour-long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw him on Tuesday last week, and...
so today's Wednesday, so a week ago.
I had one of the best visits, and he seemed very at peace, and I'll never forget, he was even, touching my shoulder, "Oh, shucks," kind of hitting my shoulder, "Thank you," kind of thing. And then, the next day, I got a call that he was in the hospital, and he passed away within 24 hours, so it was kind of weird. That last visit was... yeah, I'll never forget that. I mean, he seemed very pleasant and peaceful, and yeah.
We were used to seeing him decline. So it was weird when one day you're having a normal conversation, the next day after dinner, we get a call that he's in the hospital.
Yeah, that was strange, because I thought maybe he'd bounce back. I thought maybe he had another sickness, maybe got pneumonia or an infection, and he'll bounce back, because he always did. But this was different. Yeah, they called, and he was he's unresponsive, and went in there, he was breathing heavily, and I could tell he wasn't moving anything. They thought he had a brainstem stroke, and he was just a matter of time. He didn't want to be put on anything. He even signed something that he didn't want any of that.
Do not resuscitate.
So he was very, we got him comfort care, and just he passed away peacefully, and I used to tell him that his wife is waiting for him. So yeah.
Were you able to be with him when he took his last breath?
I was there like right before that. So I left work and first I was there all that night, but then like they put him into a hospital room. So we weren't sure how long that was going to be. It was almost like he was in hospice up there. And I came after work or right before work at like 4:30. And I left about 5, and I got a call a half hour later that he had passed away. So I just barely missed it. But I knew, like, I could tell his breathing was slowing down.
You told me that.
Yeah.
Is there any regrets or feelings about not being physically in the room?
No, I don't. I was there before and I came right after, and I don't have any, no regrets. I got to see him at the end, and yeah.
Today, so we're a week out from this.
Yeah.
How are you processing it, feeling?
I've been texting a lot with past students and friends of his, my dad, his neighbor. A lot of students that live out in different states have reached out, and we're kind of talking a lot about stories with Roger. Going back to his time at the nursing home, I think we need to talk about this.
Sure.
You had found out that maybe to get him like a companion. So they always had collies, little dogs, or big dogs, as growing up. They had 2 when I was a kid, Gaspar and Ashley, these big collies. And they had another one, NTN, and they had another one that they had to finally give away when she got sick. But so they always loved collies. Well, you decided, you had heard from someone, I think from your podcast.
My hairdresser.
Or the hairdresser.
Got her mom a baby doll.
And she kind of like loved that in a nursing home. So you found like this really like live-looking collie. It was like a mini one, though. It was only like a foot or 2 big, but it looked like exactly like a collie.
I mean, it was a stuffed animal.
It looked real. It was a stuffed animal. So we got Roger that, and he would call it Puppy. How long did he have that for? Like
at least 7 months.
And he'd have it in his bed. He's like, oh, there's Puppy over there. He's like, at one point, he was like, oh, I don't know where the other one is. Gaspar is around here somewhere, but. And then I'd bring Fletcher and Nolan, our kids, there, and he'd always be like, "Oh, look at Puppy, there he is. He hasn't eaten much." Or at one point, I think the nurses told me that he came out of his room, was like, "Puppy's not breathing," and they all went in there and like performed CPR.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And the Cheerios on the ground.
He would lay food on the ground, and one time I noticed he had broken up Oreos and put them all over the ground, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And I was like. And then I saw like ants. I was like, it was like spring. I was like, I got to get these out. So I had to like sweep that up. And I was like, he'd always say like, he doesn't move much. And like, I'd always be like, well, our dog's 17 and he doesn't, I think your dog's old. I'd always try to tell him, I think our dog doesn't move around much at all. It just lays around. He's like, really? He's like, yeah. But it was funny because he loved that dog.
He loved Puppy.
Loved Puppy. Yep.
Okay. And we will come right back and wrap up.
Yep.
And we're back. Andrew, can you go ahead and tell me, we talked about the puppy, the stuffed animal, what do you see happening with the stuffed animal?
Okay, breaking news. My dad actually just texted me this afternoon.
No way.
Out of nowhere. He goes, hey, this is kind of a weird request, but if you see Puppy, I'd like to have him.
No way.
I swear. I go, yeah, absolutely. He's in his house. I'll get him if you want him, yeah.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. I just found that out like an hour ago.
So at this stage of the process,
yep,
we're, again, a week out.
Yeah.
How are you handling things? How are you doing and I'm talking about the logistics.
I mean, it's a process. I mean, they were very private people. So that was one thing with Andrea. She didn't want anyone, and I think Roger, she didn't want any publicity or anything when she passed. So just kind of respecting that, but
the making of the calls, the filing the paperwork, has this put in perspective how you will look at when you're parents? Because it just made me think of it.
No, it doesn't do anything. It's just, honestly, the main thing is like this whole process with Roger, like the nursing homes, the hospitals, health insurance, everything helping him out is like been kind of like it's been an education for me in the last 2 years, helping someone like an elderly person out, and just doing that and going through it at like 41, or 40 versus like most people probably do that when they're like for an elderly parent, maybe, you know what I mean, when you're like much older. So just going through that has definitely educated me on everything, the process, nursing homes, how to deal with elderly person that's struggling.
It feels like we're too young.
It was a lot. I mean, it was like another job, essentially, full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back on it, it really was. I mean, I got our job, we got our own kids, we had our own life, but then I was always taking care of Roger on the side. I didn't really tell anyone, but I was always going there.
Right.
So it feels weird to not have that right now, to not see him.
Yeah.
Not that it was like a chore or job. It was just something I always had to do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it was stressful, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And, just like talking to him, just bringing a little joy to his days was pretty magical. Like something I'll never forget.
Yeah. He liked seeing you.
He did.
He liked seeing me.
He loved seeing,
and he liked seeing the kids.
He loved seeing you. He loved seeing the kids. I was so glad the kids got to go over there and see him. He'd always be like, here, boy, come over here,
We didn't know their names.
And I always thought it was funny because like they'd sit there, they're like 8 and 11, and he would just light up a cigarette in front of them, because that's like kids don't see that these days.
No.
It's kind of old school funny. He didn't care, and it's just kind of funny, like little things like that. And they still talk. Fletcher would always ask him like, "Oh, how's puppy?" And Roger would just beam up and love talking about the dog, and he'd love talking about how the kids are doing, how you're doing. He was just an incredible, unique person, and he will be missed. But he has, a legacy of students for years all over the country that know and adore him, and all have their own stories. It's going to be weird. Like I said, not going over there, it's still an adjustment. It's like, I feel like I have all this, not free time, but it's like, it's weird. It's like, what do I do from like 1 to 2?
There's a little void in your life.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird. No, it's weird how it happened so quickly, because I was thinking this is going to keep going, because he's, like I said, so resilient.
As long as it took a long time, but it was sudden all at the same time.
Yeah, which I'm glad for him it was, because he always said he was heartbroken that she went before he did. So.
Have you ever heard of the book Tuesdays with Maury?
I have.
Okay, well, I've romanticized this experience as you sitting with an older man day in and day out and kind of find something to talk to. So can you pull out anything you kind of learned or gleaned from him?
Man.
He was unique.
I will say it's interesting, like, when you know someone, but you don't really know, like, the stories he would go into, like talking about his childhood, his dad being a World War I Marine, being on the Decatur. Like, you'd find all these stories, these people he knew. A lot of it is just, learning that, that was a noise. Learning that we all age, you know what I mean? And that there's going to come that time where we're all going to, face our demise. So that is a little dark. I think it definitely makes it put things in perspective. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was 82. His wife had passed away 4 years ago. You definitely get a look into that at a younger age. I feel like that, take advantage. Don't take things too seriously. I remember, like I said, he'd always want to know what's going on in my life. I would just like bounce ideas off him because I'm always looking for a project, Like, this. He'd be like, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm like, what, Roger? I think you're right. That's probably not a good idea. It's like, why would you want to do that? He's always like, you're doing too much, aren't you? You're doing too much. He'd always like thank me too for helping him.
Yeah.
He was always like, oh, thank you. You're probably so bored being with me. I'm like, Roger, no, I love how he's taught. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, oh, really? He was always kind of down on himself.
Yeah.
But I would try to cheer him up and tell him a joke or be funny, and he'd kind of laugh. And
you had to really pull for conversation.
Yeah, but it definitely puts things in perspective. You get so bogged down in your own life, and then you got to realize, it's only temporary,
Yes.
And then eventually it gets harder. And like, that's another thing. It's like everyone wants to live healthy and live to you're super old, but I've seen people like struggle when they get that old. It's like, do I want to
that longevity
live that long where you're kind of alone and people will have to help you? Like, that's hard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like, do what you want to do and be happy. Don't try to like obsess on like longevity necessarily, because that could be, I don't want to say depressing, but it could be bad it could be hard at the end. Like, hey, I lived all my life, but now I'm 90 and I got no one around, and people got to like help me bathe, help me go to the bathroom, help me walk around. It's like, man, is that enjoyable? Like,
I think that was a hard thing for you to see.
It was weird. Yeah. So that kind of like put things in perspective, but I don't know.
Tell me about the bird. You told me this morning in passing.
So me trying to cheer him up a lot of times, he would always talk about, Andrea. I was like, oh, Roger, she's around. And I found this quote or something. It was like, or I read something. It was like, some people say like loved ones come as like beautiful birds or something. Like, so I'd always tell Roger, it's like, like a cardinal, like a red cardinal would be in the backyard. I was like, maybe that's Andrea, like looking down on us. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
She's here, Roger. She's around. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. Like there's a cardinal right outside the window. That's probably Andrea. And so we'd always talk about the bird. Well, it was weird. Like 2 days ago, I was at his house and walking back in the backyard, and there was this like little bright yellow finch. I've never seen a bird like that. It was like mini, and it was like fluttering by their solarium window, and it was just kind of weird, like a bright yellow. Never seen this bird around. It almost looked like it was someone's pet. Like you wouldn't even see one of these in the area.
Like a parakeet.
Kind of. I'm like, that's really strange. And yeah, it was just kind of weird how that happens,
You noted that.
I did. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will keep Roger in our thoughts and prayers because he has really put a stamp on our lives, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. So message to anyone else, help the elderly, because eventually we're all hopefully going to be like that, and they do need help. So it's very rewarding. It's hard at times. I mean, I remember like when he was in his house, like helping him get to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Old man, you know what I mean? Like I'm his student. Here I am helping him practically naked, trying to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like help him because he couldn't even make it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's how bad it was at the end. Like it was bad. Like I could go into detail. I don't want to, but paint that picture for you.
You got intimate.
I mean,
Very
I
personal.
saw because, just trying to help him out. So I think, hopefully you have kids or family that can do that for you, but there are people that maybe don't. So I would say just try to help those and keep things in perspective. And Roger's legacy will live on. He's got a lot of students. So
Andrew, thanks for sharing.
you're welcome, Emily.
I'm really glad. I wanted to do this for a long time, so I appreciate it.
We always wanted to kind of interview Roger, but I
Yeah.
don't think it was going to work. We actually were going to one time, but he kind of refused. So.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Emily.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's HyperLocal show. If you like what you hear or you need anything from me, let me know at hyperlocalscu.com. Also, search and follow HyperLocalsCU on all social media. Like me, follow me. Bye.